John Tosco. Welcome to everybody in Charlotte.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'm glad to have you in here. As I said before, I've been very excited to meet you, more than I have shaken your hand before. And I often like to talk about how I do know people, and you and I don't know each other until the last 15 minutes. But our paths have crossed many times at the Evening Muse because I was a fan, still am, of Lane Mansfield, and her father's a very, very close friend of mine.
Yeah.
I recall a lot of kind words you would say about Lane because she is a very talented young girl.
Absolutely.
That voice.
Yeah. And she sticks with it. I mean, she started young, I don't know, 11 years old, something like that. And she keeps coming and getting better and better, and she's writing, and
I love it.
And she and her dad and her brother, they're such music lovers. And I love music lovers. I really do.
Right.
Because I'm one.
Yeah.
It's our tribe.
Yep. They hear it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I have come and seen her perform a number of times, and then Scott typically sends me the videos. And he sent the most recent one where I think she did one right before she left for college. And man, I mean, it jerked a tear. I think it probably didn't leave a dry eye in the room.
So, she and her dad, Scott, take guitar lessons from me. And she had a lesson, and she played it for me the week before she played it at the open mic. And she said, "Don't tell my dad what I'm playing."
Oh my God.
She knew, she had it all planned as a surprise, and I just knew it was going to floor everybody, and it did. It was one of those heartfelt, thank you for all that you've given me kind of songs. I'm heading off on my own. It's a new road, a new adventure, but it was a really special moment. And, that's the thing is our concerts, our open mics, you have a lot of great music, all these wonderful people coming together. And every now and then there's moments like that, these little moments of magic. And it just is such a special thing. And it was such a gift for all of us.
Wow.
And that was one of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is just so great. Yeah, he sent it and was like, I might have cried. I was like, oh, yeah. I cried watching it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move into John Tosco. Now, I know about you just in what you do for the community, which we will get into, but I would love to know more about your background. Just maybe early years, kind of what led you into the world that led to now. I know that's a long story, but let's give me the bullets.
Well, I didn't have musicians in my family.
Okay.
There was at school they started offering guitar classes. I was 8 years old, and I barely remember saying, "Yeah, I think I'd like to do that." It wasn't like I was passionate about it. But I actually started with my sister in this guitar class at school, and very soon, a month or two, she dropped out, and so the guitar that we shared became mine, and I, for some reason, stuck with it, and it was slow going at first. I'm not a gifted musician like so many of my students, Whatever I could do on the guitar, I had to work for it, But I love it, and it just stuck. And it just, by the time I was 12, it was like, that's all I was doing. And I just knew that was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. Oh. So, yeah, I majored in music in school, in college, and then after that played in bands. And I was in one band out in Denver, Colorado. I grew up in North Carolina, but out in Denver.
Where about?
In Fayetteville is where I grew up.
Yeah.
My dad had retired from Fort Bragg. My Yankee parents loved the South and say, we're going to stay here. And so, like a lot of teenagers, I couldn't wait to get away.
Sure.
Especially Fayetteville.
Fayetteville, yeah.
But there wasn't a lot of music happening there. So I went off to college. After college, went out to Colorado, and I got into a band that in 3 years, I think we had 2 weeks off. We played mostly bars, but it was a lot of playing. It's a great training ground for, just night after night, 5-6 nights a week playing, keeping people on the dance floor. And we were a country rock band. This is in the early 80s. And that band was very successful. We were, probably the busiest band in the area. We actually entered this contest called the Wrangler Country Showdown, a national contest. We won for the state of Colorado. We went and played at the Grand Ole Opry. We didn't get past the top 10 at the Grand Ole Opry, but we came back to Denver and we continued playing. And the point I want to make is that that playing in that band, that job, and none of us had day jobs. It was a full-time thing. It became a job, and music lost its joy, for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then my son was born, and it was an obvious, I can't do both. I can either have a family or be in a band, because I was gone half the time, literally on the road, or I was, when I was in town, I was, working at night. My now ex-wife was working during the day, and it was like, it wasn't a family situation.
Yep.
So we made a change, and we came back to North Carolina, and that's when we moved to Charlotte, 1984. Been here ever since. But when I came back, I started teaching guitar lessons, and I missed playing music, and I started having musician friends come over to my house. Let's bring your drums, bring your amps, bring your guitars. We got a piano, and it was anything goes. It was bring your family and your friends. It wasn't just for the musicians, and it would be all different genres. I've always loved different styles of music and dabbled in them all, and it really was something that was just about bringing the community together. It was friends getting together for the love of music, singing together, playing songs for each other and with each other. And it became almost a monthly thing. Tosco's having another music party at his house. And that's how Tosco music parties were born. And it got to where we couldn't fit in my house. We had to get a bigger home. We rented a VFW building, started taking donations to fit everybody in. We had somebody bring some microphones because there were so many people, and we passed the hat for that guy. And it just kind of grew and grew and grew. And in 1999, we became a 501c3 nonprofit, because in addition to the shows that we were bringing, these concerts that we were bringing musicians together, and this always included singalongs, so it was very inclusive. We also started giving out music scholarships, playing at nursing homes that started just with caroling at the holidays, but then continued throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Friends just doing this. So it was a real grassroots effort, of building this. And it wasn't with a real business plan or anything.
Sure.
It was just, we're doing what we love.
Yeah.
And I really think that's been the success of this, and what's been the biggest joy for me is just remembering, why am I doing this? It's just because if you do something you love and you're passionate about, you know what they say, you'll never work a day in your life, right?
Yeah, if you're doing what you love.
So that's where now we've grown from bigger venues, from one venue to another, and now for the last 10 years we've been at Night Theater, and 1,200 seats in there, and we often sell out, and especially our most popular shows, our holiday show and our Beatles tribute. So anyway, that's kind of my journey. Yeah.
Golly. Well, I feel like if I were a little older, I could have been a part of some of that. Not older in the sense of like, old, but just if they were starting in the 80s, the 90s, I was a kid. But if it was a little bit older, I would have heard and I would have been there. It sounds very fun. It sounds very cool. Wow. All right. So I love the connection, or at least I made the connection between music became a job and I didn't like that. And then all of a sudden we're talking about the Tusco music parties and the nonprofit being created out of doing what you love and not for the money.
Right.
Love it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes it.
It was only good. There were going to be no rules around it, like you have to play this or that. Yeah.
Well, before we move into a little more detail around what all goes on inside of Tosco music, I do recall coming to the sing-alongs at the Evening Muse. Those are the ones I've been to. And it's just so apparent, and what I walk away with, and this, you're not expecting this, is your ability to play any song that someone calls out. It is absolutely insane.
Well, I try. I've played a
Well,
lot.
but you're darn close if you don't get it.
Yeah, I'm not the thing. I feel so much love and support from everyone there that I'm not afraid to crash and burn. So, I'll say, well, okay, we'll just sing a chorus, and we may not do the whole song.
Yeah.
And I'll count on you for the words, but I'll try to play it. And if I hit the wrong chord or whatever, okay, well, I'm gonna go for it. And again, it's just about let's just do this for the fun of it.
Get vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it.
And that matters to people because it makes them more comfortable too. Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, I remember being in the crowd and singing. I remember it was a song that somebody called out, and there was a verse that people didn't know the words, and I did, and I got loud.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, so Tosco Music. So I mean, let's run through a lot of the things that you do. I mean, obviously there's the music parties, there's the open mics, and then let's do the scholarship stuff. I mean, the community stuff.
Our community outreach includes music scholar. Last year we were awarded $12,000 in music scholarships.
Wow.
To mostly youth, some adults, and we are in about 3 or 4 retirement communities every month, nursing homes and senior centers, and we get calls all the time from people looking for different performers for their own private event or even another public event, a festival, or because our database now after 25 years is grown where if you need a bluegrass group for a backyard barbecue or a rock band for a festival or a jazz trio for your wedding reception, whatever it is, we got the musicians that we can provide a paid opportunity for them. Yeah. We take a small commission, and we provide music to the community. So
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
What a resource.
Yeah. It's our musician support is important to us. In the early days, musicians volunteered their time to perform because we were just trying to pay the venue and do what we could to put the show on. But now, for years now, everybody that's on our stage gets paid something, depending on how far they're coming from or where they are. Because we do have not only all genres in one concert, but we have all ages. So, the last show we had an 11-year-old perform, as we've had someone in their 90s perform. It's just, it's something for everybody.
Wow. Wow. What's made you want to do the community connection, everybody, inclusion, all of it? What gives you that?
Again, it
was, other than being a good guy.
No, I mean, I think it was again out of the having a negative experience of being in this band that was playing all the time. I should have been. A lot of people think, well, you should have been so happy with that. You're a working musician, and I was grateful for the work, but I think that really just created this. I wanted to make this enjoyable and fun and do it for the real reasons. And the thing is to me, this is like church. This is the most spiritual part of my life is making music with people and sharing music with people. And so I see it makes a difference in my life and others. It's definitely something that I want to continue with. And other people want to be part of it.
Yes, they do. They do. And interestingly, Charlotte has a stereotype around music, around the arts, banking town, all those things we hear all the time. But then there's people like you, and honestly, I'll throw myself in there that know the pockets where there is art and culture and music and things going on in the creative space that often are not in the public eye. And what is in the public eye are the big, the amphitheater shows and the big shows. And, and even those are starting to kind of not do as well. And the bigger bands aren't even coming through Charlotte anymore. And that's a lot of why we're wanting to start this podcast, is really try to create a hub of inspiration and education and awareness around all the things that are here that we just don't see as much.
And I'm so happy to see that more and more are coming up to the surface.
Yes.
And people are seeing and hearing about it. There's so much talent here in this town. it is getting out there more and more. We visual artists as well as performing artists. It's really refreshing, and there are communities like the Charlotte Music Community Hang. We co-host with Grindhouse Studios and Music Everywhere CLT, and Fair Play Music Equity Initiative. We all come together and co-host this quarterly event that's free to just bring the music community together to connect with each other and that networking opportunity. We bring in a guest speaker to talk on some subject on the music business. We bring in performers to have a little bit of music at the event. But it's mostly just about making those connections, and we're starting to find out about each other, because those pockets, a lot of times we're also in silos many times, and that's changing, which is really refreshing.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I hate that I missed the last one. I will make sure to be at this next one, the Hang. All right, so one of your most successful music parties was the Beatles, or the Beatles. However, what would you say? The party that celebrates and champions the Beatles music.
Tosco Music Beatles tribute.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, all right, my earliest childhood memory is watching the Beatles on Ed Sullivan.
Okay.
I was 5.5, and I clearly remember that, moment of being in my living room with my parents watching Ed Sullivan. And so the music parties always had Beatles songs in it. The Beatles were always my favorite band. And it was literally 20 years ago that we decided to make one music party all Beatles music, because their music is so adaptable to all different genres.
Yeah.
So we still will have, the a cappella group or the jazz trio or the bluegrass group or a blues artist doing their version of a Beatles song.
Yes.
As well as bands doing faithful versions like the recordings. And we do, of course, do the singalongs. That has always been our most popular show. And coming up October 4th at Night Theater is our 20th anniversary concert of the Beatles tribute.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So in 2019, we decided to, because it was so popular, to expand it beyond just one evening and have a Beatles festival weekend we call Fab Fest, Charlotte's Beatles Festival. And so we keep the Tosco Music Beatles tribute concert on Friday night, and on Saturday night we bring in a nationally touring tribute band.
Okay.
We had a couple of years, we had a group called the Fab Four. Last year we had a band called EVRYBDY. And this year, on October 5th, we're going to have Live and Let Die, the music of Paul McCartney. Tony Kishman plays Paul McCartney. He was in Beatlemania. He's known as one of the best Paul,
when he looks like
artists.
him too, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
he
I
looks
saw a
and
video.
sounds just like him. Yeah, so that'll be fun. And I don't think there's ever been a Paul McCartney tribute band play Charlotte that I'm aware of. And then during the day on Saturday at the Parr Center at CPCC, from 10 to 5, we have everything Beatles that you can imagine.
Oh my God.
We have 2 stages, an open mic stage, and we have what we call the Come Together stage, which is like the main stage with different bands playing. We have trivia, bingo. We have a huge Beatles art contest with $3,000 in cash prizes. We have a Beatles cover song contest with cash prizes. We bring in Beatles authors. We have 3 of them coming in, and they do give their presentations. We have the Beatles rock band video game room. There's memorabilia everywhere. We have a marketplace with vendors selling vinyl, and we have the food trucks and games. It just goes on. And this is just, all day Saturday at the Parr Center.
So starts with Friday night, the music party Beatles version, and then the all day 10 to 5, everything Beatles, and then the tribute, this year, Paul McCartney tribute band that night.
Saturday night. That's it. Yeah.
Wow.
Fab Fest.
That
This is our
sick.
fifth year doing it.
Why Fab?
Well, we had to come up with some kind of name for the festival. And we actually have the name trademarked. It was the Fab Four.
Fab Four.
Yeah. So it's Fab
Fab
Fest.
Festival. Got it.
Yeah. So
Makes
last
sense.
year we had our ticket buyers came from 20 different states. So this is the only festival of its kind in the Southeast. There's a big one up in New York, one out in Chicago. There's one in Jeffersonville, Indiana, but we've got the Southeast, and so it's a great way to bring people together from outside of Charlotte as well. Yeah,
Love it.
It's really, really fun if you're a Beatle fan. And the Beatles music, I said how it crosses over different genres. It also crosses over different ages and also cultures. I'll never forget the year before we started Fab Fest, I was at the Fillmore and seeing a Beatle band, a tribute band, Beatlesque, they were called. And I'm in there in the concert, and there's, well over 500 people there. And I'm looking around, and half the audience is Hispanic. And I was like, yeah, this is so clear that it's appealing to all different cultures. It's not just, your typical boomer,
Yeah. That's cool.
And it's really cool. At our Fab Fest, one of the things we also have is the family fun room. So we have games and songs and arts and crafts around the music of the Beatles. The Yellow Submarine and Octopus's Garden. So it's even for the little ones. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so good.
There's so much. Our nonprofit's website is toscomusic.org.
Okay.
There's so much going on with FabFest. We had to create a whole separate website for it. fabfestcharlotte.org.
All right. I was going to say, let's give our audience.
Yeah. Come join us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's hard for me not to talk about the Beatles without talking about the Beatles. I just love to in the spirit of time, let me just ask one quick question. Why were they so good? Why were they so influential? And how were they? All right, so take those two questions and don't answer them, but let's provide context into the final question, which is, how much of their music was full, just creative, new, nobody's ever heard before, and influenced by something else? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Well, they were certainly, obviously, influenced by the music they experienced growing up.
Sure.
Paul, his father was a musician. He was influenced by a lot of the early songs, the songs from the 20s, 30s, and 40s that he grew up with when he was a kid. And of course, but all of them, especially John, were influenced by the early days of rock and roll. They loved the Everly Brothers and Elvis, so that influenced them. Mm-hmm. And they, in turn, of course, have had a lasting influence on many of today's popular artists.
Yeah,
I mean, I meet friends who barely know who the Beatles are, But I'll say, but you love Taylor Swift, or you love Beyonce, or you whatever, and guess who they love, and how they were influenced by,
Yeah.
So it's there was something very magical and special there that they had.
Yeah.
One of the things is they kept growing and experimenting and doing something new that was ahead of their time.
Yeah.
And I think everything they've done pretty much is lasting. It's proven to be lasting.
Yeah.
And so just like we, still talk about Beethoven and Mozart, 200 years from now, they're going to be talking about Lennon and McCartney. It's that kind of lasting power.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's kind of where I understand that we all, as creative as we are and as original and experimentative as we are influenced, and there's things in our brains that came from something we heard or saw or experienced before. But damn, they were unique.
Yeah.
They were, experimental was the word.
And the sum greater than the parts.
Right.
There was that magic of them coming together as a group, what they did.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, John, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming into Everybody Studios and being a part of Everybody in Charlotte.
My pleasure.
Everybody listening, we got Fab Fest coming up October 4th and 5th. Fourth night, 5th all day, 5th night. Tickets are at
fabfestcharlotte.org.
Bam. There it is.
Thanks, Robbie.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.